Feminized genetics. They're great. A lot of people like to use them. But oftentimes a lot of these feminized genetics that are coming out seem to have traits that may not be quite as favorable. Now this isn't as common with the big guys. It's a lot more common with the new rookie kind of beginner breeders. Now why is this? Well, let's go over it in this episode.
Like we always do about this time.
This video is for educational purposes only, YouTube. Now content like this is available for free on YouTube because of great brands like this. AC Infinity. Now whether it be air control, air quality, lighting, or your tent itself, or the entire kit, AC Infinity has got you locked down, and they continue to innovate time after time again with just amazing products. Now their products go very fast, well, because they're in high demand. Supply and demand is a real thing, and when you got a supply that's as great as this, you better jump on it quick. And when you do, make sure you use CLtv at checkout and you'll save some money on your order. Big shout out to AC Infinity, and let's get to the video. What up, is Rob, and this is CLtv, and we talk all things herb. Today in particular, we're going to be talking about genetics, feminized genetics, specifically. So what's my concern with these feminized genetics? Well, honestly, it's not anything that I have a direct concern of. It's more of what I've been told and what I've seen. And as I'm dabbling in this little breeding project I'm working on just for personal use, I'm noticing that there is a big concern about quality feminized genetics. Didn't realize how much it was, but this seems to be a big conversation in the community. Before I go any further, I want to make it clear that this is just for educational purposes only. I'm not endorsing anything illegal. We're only talking about hemp here, which is 100% legal. It's just hemp, okay? Hemp only. Now, I'm just a hobby breeder, just for myself completely. Maybe one day it'll go past that. But for those of you who've been breeding at home or doing this at larger scale, what are some major tips you have for hobby breeders? Drop below in the comment section. Anyways, when it comes down to it, feminized genetics definitely have their place. And I think that more people than not are running with these for a variety of reasons. But the concern with feminized genetics is that they tend to have a higher propensity of hermaphroditic traits.
I'm Lady Boy.
Now, not all, of course. Trust me, right away before you start typing a whole novel and freaking out. Not all. Again, rookie, newer breeders who aren't really doing what they need to do. Let me explain. This can start with the creation process. To break it down, feminized genetics can be created by encouraging a female plant to produce pollen, a process that naturally doesn't occur in dioecious plants like the one we like to consume. Again, we're going to say hemp. They're typically either male or female. Now this is often achieved by stressing that female plant out through various methods. Some of those are like applying colloidal silver or silver thiosulfate, which inhibits the plant's production of ethylene. This is the hormone that's involved in the sex differentiation, so that way you know if it's male or female. Now the pollen in these female plants is often used to pollinate other females, resulting in seeds that are genetically predisposed to female. This manipulation can lead the plants to be more susceptible to stress, resulting in these hermaphroditic traits. Now again, not always, so calm down. I see you typing, chill out. That's where we get into genetic predisposition. Since feminized genetics are produced by females, they have to be stressed into producing pollen. They may inherit a genetic predisposition towards stress-induced hermaphroditism. This means that under conditions of environmental stress, such as improper light cycles, extreme temperatures, nutrient imbalances, or physical damage, these plants are most likely to develop both male and female traits, creating the Hermes. They do this in an attempt to self-pollinate themselves to ensure longevity of the genetic, to keep on breeding, to maintain the life of that genetic. So it's kind of cool science does this and plants do it on their own, but we don't want this. We're not trying to smoke this. We don't want to have this. So then it boils down to selective breeding. But what is selective breeding? Well, this could be good or it could be bad. Now, when we're going towards female genetics, oftentimes the selective side is mainly just to make sure you get female genetics. But for a more experienced breeder, they're going to make sure that their genetics are stable and resilient to some of these other negative traits. Now, not paying attention to this can result in having hermaphroditism perpetually, over and over throughout these genetics. As you breed them with other genetics, you potentially could run into this issue. Well, that's where sometimes breeders will do what's called back crossing. This essentially is inbreeding.
Did you say inbred?
Did you say Kentucky?
This technique involves crossing a plant with one of its parents or a genetically similar cultivar to help stabilize those genetics. This can be done multiple times to the point of stability being achieved and these being readily available cultivars. Now, oftentimes you don't see breeders do this. They'll just self it and send it, or they'll self it, cross it, and send it.
You guys silly? I'm still gonna send it.
At that point, you potentially could run into situations with hermaphroditic traits. This is all about having a strong foundation of good genetics. Now, oftentimes genetics that are created from stress-induced techniques potentially can seed again. And this is a worry for a lot of people. And if you're someone who's doing a little bit of backyard breeding like myself, just for your own grow, well, there's a few tips that I think that you should consider when you're doing it. Heavy stress testing. If you have a mother plant, make sure you're consistently running different stress tests. This could be temperature based, this could be drought, this could be light. Anything that could potentially trigger this plant to grow seeds, this is something that you want to try out. This will help you decide if this cultivar is right to breed with, or if it's one that you could potentially run into situations like hermaphrodites. We don't want that. So starting out with a strong genetic foundation is one of the best keys. You also need regular monitoring and consistent identification. Be in that room looking at some of these plants, while they're flowering, while they're vegging, to see some of these traits that may look sketchy.
Oh, dude, you're a dude!
Now, especially as you're later into flowering, you see some nanners or those little yellow banana pieces popping in, you'll notice that that is a trait of stress-induced hermaphroditing. Now, in that case, that genetic may not be one to utilize in your foundation for this genetic project. Using silver-based solutions sparingly is definitely one that I've been told from other breeders who've been doing this for a while, and that I've seen myself doing these small projects that probably was not as advantageous when I first started, doubling up on it. While silver thiosulfate and caladial silver are effective for inducing feminization, over-reliance on these chemicals can contribute to genetic instability. You really want to focus on maintaining the overall health and genetic stability of these plants. And if you do have a cultivar that does trigger some hermy characteristics later in flower, this is something that you want to educate the growers on if you decide to ever put this out. People should know some of these triggers if you do happen to put it out there with the hermy traits.
That's so fucking lazy. You're a lazy fucker.
And R&D and collaboration. Testing. So many different environments, so many different variables, so many different environmental impacts and human error can result in herming out a plant. Now, if you don't have these different variables put in place, it's going to be hard for you to tell if it has these characteristics at all. This is where collaborations and testing become a major factor for anyone who's trying to do breeding more large scale or anything outside of just their personal tent. Now, I've done testing for years with other people's cultivars, and currently with my own genetics, I have a few people testing them out as well. Now, this isn't for the market, this is for myself, because I feel like there's not a lot of places that breed genetics that I'm really into. Now, there are some, of course. Luckily, the homies at Seedsman carry quite a bit of those. You can use discount code CLtv at checkout for any of their products. Save yourself a little something and help the channel as well. But overall, the breeders nowadays are breeding for the masses, and I understand that. Business is business. But when it comes down to it, I want some gas, I want some fire, and maybe have a little bit of that exotic look. But for the most part, breeding is something a lot of people do for a passion and for themselves. So knowing some of these things can help you avoid having hermaphroditic traits and potentially get you some great female genetics. So if you have any tips that could help me or any other growers as well, make sure you drop them below in the comment section. I truly appreciate it. With that being said, happy growing, have a great day, and stay lifted. Peace. Growers who are looking for that secret sauce usually are just missing something from their garden. And to help with that, we bring you the Stash Blend Premium Plant Additive. Stash Blend brings beneficial bacteria, silicon, seaweed, humic acid, and has enough macronutrition to help lower the dosages of your base feed too. Unleash your plant's true potential with Stash Blend Premium Plant Additive. Available at Growers House.